I think it's terrific to draw this kind of attention to Grant, who, as you said, has really, until quite recently, been overlooked. One, as a significant president, but more particularly as a civil rights president, which he was. He was our first civil rights president.
Actually, the Union generals and principally U.S. Grant instituted Lincoln's wartime Reconstruction policies on the battlefield, on the land that they conquered, which grew increasingly as the war went on. So Grant had a deep understanding of what Lincoln wanted, the goals of Reconstruction. He dealt with the issue of emancipation and the enslaved people coming behind Union lines, develop programs for them as best he could while engineering the military part of the war. And so he was very familiar with the issues and challenges of Reconstruction.
And without Ulysses Grant, it's possible that Reconstruction would have been undermined, even destroyed much earlier. Grant was fully committed to Reconstruction.
He was a tenacious man, and he, like many Americans then and now, experienced disappointments and setbacks, and there were times in his life where everyone thought he was a failure, even his own family. And so that, never Julia, his wife, by the way.
General Grant wanted his family near him. He wanted Julia near him. So when he would travel someplace and he would establish a headquarters, very little time would pass before he would summon Julia to join him there with one or more or all four of their children. He was very deeply devoted and really needed to have his family close by. I think to give him that break from the stresses of his command. That was something that intrigued me too, the more I learned about Mrs. Grant, even just after this encounter, was that this relationship was not one that any computer dating service would have put these two together. No algorithm would have thought that these two people fit. Julia was the daughter, she was from Missouri, which was not a southern state, but it was a western state, but it was a slave state. And
Right.
her father was an enslaver. And on the other hand, Ulysses Grant was from Ohio. He came from a very strong abolitionist family. He was a staunch abolitionist himself. But yet they fell in love and they were absolutely devoted to each other.
It became clear that Grant was seriously overlooked, not only because he was a modest man who didn't seek to aggrandize himself, but also because Grant's presidency was largely airbrushed out of the American story by later historians, pro-Southern historians, who not only airbrushed out Grant, but largely erased the history of African American soldiers in the Civil War, hundreds of thousands, plus, and diminished the history of anti-slavery. And when you look clearly at the truth of this period and appreciate both the dynamism and the success of the abolitionist movement and early Reconstruction under Grant, you realize that Reconstruction was a triumph.
But one thing really was a kind of a avatar to me, and that is Civil War memory and Grant's place in Civil War memory. How could someone who was so honored and such a major figure in American military and political history be so dismissed?
I'm so pleased on Grant's behalf. He's not here to watch the to watch the show, but on his behalf, that he can be restored to our historical memory.